Hey friends, it's me, Katie Ann, and your host of the Full Confidence Ahead podcast, where we go on a journey together, tackling the fears of life, from family relationships to finance, from careers to community. And on the Full Confidence Ahead podcast, we've been running a fundraiser, which has been doing wonderfully, so we've decided to continue it, and this is a fundraiser for the Miss America organization. So what I've decided to do is I've created some harp ringtones that you can download for donating $5 to the Miss America organization, which is one of the largest providers for women's scholarships in the nation. They are absolutely incredible. 100% of the donations go to the girls in scholarships, and they're tax deductible. And no donation is too small. Honestly, every dollar counts, even a dollar counts. And you'll love your little harp ringtone fundraiser. You'll have me in your pocket everywhere you go. But today, I'm so excited to share with you that we have Dr. Othello Richards, who earned his bachelor's degree in communications and worked in broadcast in the digital news industry in Utah and Washington for more than a decade, mostly as an on-air reporter and as an associate producer. In 2014, he left the industry to pursue a master's and PhD at Texas Tech, where he researched how individuals process TV news and immersive journalism, and he is now currently a professor at Brigham Young University in their communications department. And I have really found this conversation in this episode to be insightful, and if you found it this valuable, share it with your friends and family. We want to make sure that our guests here on the show get the recognition that they deserve. So like and share this episode, leave a little comment to Dr. Othello Richards, and just say how much you like the episode and share it with your friends and family. Okay, what was your favorite toy as a kid?
Legos. Hands down Legos. So my kids.
Were you the person that got the pack with the instructions and did it by, or were you just the create your own Legos?
I grew up in the era where you didn't have things already pre-made, a bunch of Star Wars or airport sites. I just had the blocks and the stuff, and so you create stuff. So which is cool because my parents bought my kids some Legos, a Lego set for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing they play with now. I mean, no other toys. And so since then we've bought 3 new sets, just the blocks, not the the castle or whatever, already pre-made where you don't use your brain. and
so, it's very brain intensive when you don't have that instructions.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So now, we play Legos.
I love that. Okay. I want to play Legos. It's just the worst when you step on them. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that's bad about Legos. But
my wife sold my kids' toy room. My wife took some tape and she taped a box in the toy room where the Legos have to stay within the box on the floor.
That's hilarious. Oh, that would have saved everyone's feet, huh?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Dr. Richards, we are thrilled to have you on the podcast, just with your depth of knowledge and experience, and kind of your story is what I really want to get into, of kind of finding your career and whatnot. So tell us right now, just tell us a few things about you. What are you doing in life right now? Get us a little bit oriented here.
So right now I'm a communications professor here at Brigham Young University. Mm-hmm. So I used to teach journalism. I used to be a television news reporter, spent almost 12 years in the business. Told thousands of stories. But,
that'd be crazy to actually count up how many stories you told. So that'd be cool with metrics on it.
I know. So I don't have the official count, but I did the math. And when you're on air at least twice a day, 5 days a week, 10 days, so that's 10 on air appearances a week times 9 years or so.
My goodness!
It really adds up there.
Right.
But now I teach journalism. They say people they become professors because they fail at their careers. No, that's not why. This is what I always wanted to do.
I love that. Okay, so I want you to kind of tell us your journey, because this is it's crazy. So now we've got at least where you are now, but I want to look back on how in the world did you get here? What is your trajectory that got you here?
Okay, so originally, I actually wanted to fly. So I have a love of airplanes. I'm that kid. So growing up, my father, he worked at the World Bank, and we're from Liberia, West Africa. And living in the U.S., the World Bank will give their employees a chance to go back to the home country. They call them home leave.
Whoa, cool.
And so every other year or so, we had the chance to go back to our home country, quote unquote, but we couldn't go back to Liberia because Liberia was, they were fighting a civil war.
Right.
or it was just too dangerous to go back. So we would always pick a country in West Africa to go to, and then we'll pick a country in Europe to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the perks was we got to fly first class.
Whoa.
Um, so I'm a youth, but the thing about it is, I love airplanes so much. I
Uh-huh.
didn't really care to be in first class. I didn't even want to go to the first class lounge because I couldn't see the airplanes from there.
That's hilarious. The one person who got it doesn't even want it. They're like,
Doesn't
no,
want.
no, no.
I was like a kid, and was sitting first class. I now wanted to be the person sitting back there in economy. I didn't know what it was
Oh,
called at the
that's so
time because I
funny.
wanted to be with a bunch of other people there.
Right.
So when I look back on that, I'm like, wow, what I would give now to to fly first class. But I just grew up loving airplanes, everything aviation,
Yeah.
and so I wanted so I wanted to fly, and so I applied to the Air Force Academy.
Okay.
I mean, I'm at BYU now. That's where I did my undergrad, but that wasn't even on my radar. Didn't even think about coming to BYU. It was going to be Air Force Academy or West Point.
So was that right
Um,
out of high school you
right,
applied?
yeah, right
Okay.
out of high school. Yep, my senior
Okay.
year. And so Air Force Academy, they got back to me and said, after the medical exam, says you
Mm-hmm.
won't be able to fly because you don't have 20/20 vision.
Ooh.
And so, that was that was a downer.
Oh yeah.
That
I
was.
think that's an understatement. Like down is probably an understatement for what
Yeah.
happened. Like your whole kind of dream career just crashed on
Mhm.
one
Yeah.
letter, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to fly. I wanted to fly bombers. I didn't want to fly jets. I actually wanted to fly the big bombers.
Wow.
There, and so then West Point. That was my second option. And so I was
Yeah.
going through the process with West Point, and I probably could have gotten in.
Uh-huh.
But then a recruiter came from BYU and gave me the whole sales pitch, and I bought it. I bought into it there.
Yeah.
And so I realized, well, I can't really fly airplanes. I don't want to go to the West Point. I don't want to fly helicopters or
Right.
whatnot.
Right.
And so I need a backup plan
Mm-hmm.
there. And so I went to a high school that was heavy into science and technology.
Okay.
Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. That's what it was called. And so it was one of those schools where we were nerds, and we were proud of it. Everybody called us nerds. We were the
You know
nerdy
what's
high
funny?
school.
I totally was proud of it in high school too. I loved science growing up, and I would always wear my
Mhm,
periodic table of elements shirt with pride, and I'm like, oh yeah.
mhm. Yeah, yeah,
So I
or
get
yeah,
that. I get
yeah.
that.
Our high school, the football team, they'll call out the quadratic formula for plays. There.
That's awesome.
Say things like "you're winning, but that's okay because you're going to be working for us someday." The cheerleaders. No. So,
Oh my goodness,
so
that's hilarious.
yeah. So that was my high school. At the
Mhm.
time, actually, it was the number one high school in the country
Mhm.
because they pulled all the students from other high schools and brought them to this one school.
Got it.
So I was heavy into math and science, and I knew also. And I like to build things.
Okay.
Maybe it came from building Legos and constructing different things out of Legos. But I
Uh-huh.
used to like to design things, and I actually wrote up a design for front brake light.
Whoa,
So
like
like
on a car?
on a car. Think about it. Okay,
Okay.
when a car is approaching you,
Uh-huh.
and the signal is on. Do you know if it's slowing down or not, or maybe they just forgot to turn off the signal?
No.
So I figure if you have front brake lights, you could actually tell whether that car had the intention of slowing down or not, because you can't
Oh
tell.
my goodness. Have you
So
gone forth? I'm like, I really want this invention. Did you do it?
yes, I went to the patent office, and mind you,
Okay.
I'm like in seventh or eighth grade. I'm young.
Oh my goodness, you're
There.
going to the patent office in
Patent office.
seventh grade.
So I live in
That's
Washington D.C.,
crazy.
DC metro
Okay.
area. So I grew
Right.
up in the DC metro area, and it had been patented just a couple years earlier.
Okay. Oh
I missed it,
man.
but just. I was like, "Are you
Seventh
kidding
grade
me?"
could have changed the
So they could have
world.
changed the world there. I came up with this design. I couldn't make it, but of the first like what we have, like GPS, like
Uh-huh.
the thing you hold in your hand that could tell you where maps are. This is how I was
Yeah.
thinking about when I was a little
Okay.
kid
Okay.
there, and so I figure, okay, I can go to school and I can become a mechanical engineer
Mm-hmm.
and continue to design things.
I'm just kind of
Uh,
laughing a little bit knowing where you are now and
yeah,
being like, wait, mechanical engineering? So I keep planes to mechanic. So keep going because this is really interesting.
I'm all over the place, right? And so that's the thing
Yeah,
about
yeah.
being well rounded. I wasn't a
Uh-huh.
one trick pony. I could do a bunch of things. I
Yeah.
also was a sprinter. I was probably one of the top sprinters in the country. So
Oh my
heck, I could
goodness.
I could have done track and field
You're
as
like,
well.
my
But
2020 vision went, but I got all these other things. So
yeah,
seventh grader in the patent office. Let's go.
yeah. Seventh grade in the patent office looking at patents.
I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
and what irks me now to today, it still hasn't come out. No, they haven't produced it yet. So I'm like, I need to go back and see
Go
that
back
patent
in.
if it's expired.
Yeah, you should. I'm like, you should just walk right in and be like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. I mean, I get here to BYU. My whole freshman year is all about mechanical engineering, calculus
Mm-hmm.
classes, physics classes, statics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there, and then I left. I went on my mission,
Mm-hmm.
and I changed. I started like I be I talked to people. I smiled. I learned how to
Wait,
smile.
so before this, you weren't really like not
Uh,
what's the right word I want to say here? You weren't
I wasn't
really a people person.
I wasn't antisocial, but at the same time, I
Okay.
wouldn't. I mean, I was a extroverted introvert.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, or introverted extrovert. No, I mean, if you look at pictures prior to my mission, I never
Yeah.
smiled. When I smiled, I never showed my teeth. There,
Oh,
but
interesting.
after my mission, you can see my teeth. I just came back a different person and loving to
Uh-huh.
talk to people, engage in conversations.
Yeah.
At the same time, I also had a great love of news. I was one of those little kids. I'll watch the news every day. There. Um, and so came back after my mission. I'm sitting in class that first week, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is boring.
Were you the mechanical engineering?
Yeah. I was sitting in one of my mechanical engineering classes. I think it was a refresher course for one of the
Yeah.
courses. I'm like, this is boring. And so I got up and I left. And
Yeah.
I walked to the kiosk. Back then, it was kiosk in the hallways with these computers
Uh-huh.
with green screens on them. And that changed my entire schedule. I changed it to journalism,
Oh wow.
to actually
Okay.
print journalism.
Okay, wait. So you just walked up. Did you just on the fly decide this?
Yep.
Okay, it was. I love that confidence. Yep. Okay, so it's just on the fly. You're like, no more mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I mean, I don't know if it was on the. I mean, I knew I loved writing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I knew I could write. I'm
Okay.
like, what would I love to do? I can write. So I changed it. And I went there and print journalism it was. And so I called my
Mhm.
mom. Well, I called my parents. My mom answered the phone. I said, Mom, I'm changing my major. And I'm like, I'm changing it to print journalism. And then there was like silence. Like, Mom, are you there? Mom, are you there? And actually, after like a minute, she was like, and why would you do this? I mean, she's crying.
Oh no.
So, okay, talk about being all over the place, going from wanting to fly in the Air Force to mechanical engineering now to journalism. And so
Oh
my
no,
mom,
that's everywhere.
so my mom goes, well, why don't you do TV? Why don't you do broadcast journalism? I was
Uh-huh.
like, okay.
This is hilarious. Okay. This is actually a great time to pause and have a moment for our sponsors because they have given me so much confidence in the financial world. I actually started this podcast because I was afraid of finances for a really long time until I took a class on how to budget and my fear changed to confidence. Utah Money Moms has continued to help my confidence grow. They provide free webinars and downloadable resources to help you understand your money personality and hone it in to make a good financial future. One of my favorite resources is their free downloadable calendars. I love the 2021 calendar because it gave me small, doable financial goals each month. So head on over to utahmoneymoms.com or Utah Money Moms on Instagram to download their 2022 finance calendar and start your journey of finances with confidence. Again, that's utahmoneymoms.com or Utah Money Moms on Instagram.
Yeah, okay, sure. Sounds good to me. Yeah, for some reason, I just couldn't see myself. So I was my freshman year, I was that guy in class that will crack jokes all the time. I made good grades, but I would just crack jokes, but people wouldn't laugh. It was just a different personality there.
Yeah.
I mean, I take life seriously, but I don't take life seriously. There.
Yeah, I like that description.
Yeah, and I came back. It's once again, I found myself in that environment, and that's why I said this is boring. And so that's when I changed, and I never felt better. I remember going to my first communications classes and realizing this is it.
Oh.
This is I love this.
Yeah.
Um, and then, of course, went into television news, graduated, got jobs in TV, but that wasn't my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal was actually to come back and teach.
Okay.
And I developed a love of teaching from teaching Sunday school classes, believe it or
That's
not.
so fun.
Yeah. Teaching Sunday school classes.
Yeah. Mhm.
And when in television news, we would have annual interviews, and my news director would ask me, "So, where do you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years?"
Mhm.
And I told him, "I want to teach." And
Mhm.
he was always surprised. So I want to teach at a university because
Yeah.
most reporters aspire to be anchors. I want to be on
Right.
NBC News, CBS, national news.
Right.
That was not me.
That's
There.
so interesting.
Even so much that when I actually uh, uh, turning my resignation,
Mhm.
I gave them 2 month notice. I was nice, didn't give them 2 weeks notice, but 2 month notice,
Yeah.
and told them I was returning to school to
Okay.
get my master's degree, but also work as a visiting professor.
Right.
I don't think they believed me there.
Really?
Because in the video, the little montage I made, the
Mhm.
goodbye, they said everything about me going back to school, but nothing about me teaching there. I'm like,
Oh,
really? I am going
interesting.
back and I'm teaching full
You're like,
time.
"No, no, this is me. I'm
Yeah,
doing this."
yeah.
Wow.
And so that's where my love is right now. I mean, I still
Mhm.
have aviation is still a hobby. I love aviation
Mhm.
there, but I'm living my dream. I'm actually always wanted to come back and teach at a university at BYU,
Interesting.
and so that's where I am right now. So I'm
Yeah.
living the dream there.
It's so interesting. You have this idea of living the dream, but I also see how your dream has definitely taken
Hmm.
shape. Like this was not your dream as when you were a young kid. It's kind of taken shape over the years. So,
Hmm.
how did you go through this process of kind of changing the dream? It can be scary, I think.
Hmm.
To be in one area, and I would have been terrified just totally switching my major and schedule just like off a whim.
Yeah.
But granted, I kind of did that too. I'm like, I started in neuroscience and totally switched over. So I get that, like feeling fulfilled, but how did that filter out for you?
I think one thing is I was always confident in my abilities there.
Mm.
Uh, Going to the high school that I went to, once again, this is a high school where in a senior class of 400 students, we had 16 get perfect SAT scores.
Oh my
Now,
goodness,
some
that's
districts may have,
crazy.
yeah, some
Oh,
districts may have one person. We had 16
okay.
in my class.
Holy cow.
We had the person who was next to me, the student who had a locker right next to mine. She got a
Uh,
1590. She missed. I think she missed maybe one question, and she was
oh.
crying. She was crying. I'm like, are you serious?
Oh, I would have cried too, but probably for the opposite reason of
Yeah.
joy rather than like.
Uh, no, yeah, crying because she was angry because she
Oh
didn't get
my
it perfect. Because
goodness.
that's the kind of school I went to, and so
Mhm.
I mean, to be in that environment
Mhm.
and to be with people who are competitive and driven and motivated, that was me also
Mhm.
as well. And
Mhm.
so I had my hands in everything there.
Oh yeah.
I was a track athlete. I was the fastest person in the school, fastest person in the region there.
Mhm.
I was the nerd that will beat you in a race there. Because that's what I was. That's why I
Right.
didn't want to be somebody who was known for just one thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I can do it all. And so running track, succeeding in that, going to the high school, I just realized that I can do what I want. I just
Mhm.
have to work at it
Mm.
there.
I like how you said that there, like, I can do what I want, but you have to work at it, because that's so true. Because sometimes we see these like stars rise out of nowhere, but the reality is they worked. Like you probably
Yeah.
worked so hard to be a track star.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, I did. But I was intimidated at first. So I
Oh,
remember my,
okay.
my freshman year, no, what's the, I was freshman year, had a track coach. She was so
Okay.
intimidating there. So much so that I ran indoor track
Uh-huh.
and I quit that freshman
Oh,
year.
whoa. Okay.
I was one of the fastest on the team, though, mind you,
Okay.
but I hated practices so much. I think that was really
What
the first
about the
time
practices? Like, what about the practices made you feel intimidated or hate it?
the coach,
Okay. So
the
what was
coach.
it like, how they talked to you, or was it?
Yep, that's the first time I had somebody really yell at me like that, scream at
Yeah.
me,
Uh-huh.
made me feel pain. I mean, physical
Oh,
pain, not
right, right,
mental pain,
right.
but physical
Right.
pain there. And I,
Running is pain.
yeah, but maybe this is all part of it was a learning process. That's the
Mhm.
first time in my life I really been pushed so hard,
Mhm.
knowing that I had this talent
Mhm.
that was innate. I mean, I was naturally fast.
Mhm.
I didn't have to work at it much, and
Mhm.
I could beat people. But now I had to go work at it. I had to go to real
Mhm.
practices, and this coach would yell at me. He recognized my talent, and he wanted to push me. But
Right.
I wasn't willing to accept the pushing, so I
Okay,
quit.
so what was the difference between quitting and going back? Like, so you're there, you have the talent, you're getting pushed, but then you quit. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa. But then how did you come around to be like, okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready to take that?
Well, that coach, the coach left.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
hey, that's the way to go.
Yeah. He stopped coaching after that. So he did outdoor track. So I didn't run outdoor. I didn't run the outdoor
Uh-huh.
season. And so
Uh-huh.
when I realized he wasn't going to coach anymore, I came back. So there's no glorious. I didn't have like this moment. I'm going to do it. I'm a what? How old am I at that age? Like 15-year-olds old. I was intimidated.
I love that because sometimes our stories aren't glorious finding our dreams. It's just like, it was the right timing and it happened, or I was
Mhm.
intimidated and then I came back. Like, I like how you said, like, there wasn't a glorious thing. It was, well, the coach was gone and I came back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, once I came back, and which is, I mean, and when we talk about things that happen in our life, I mean, we can be a force for good or force, I mean, not for evil. I mean, we can have impact on people, on
Mm-hmm.
young people. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this great thing about teaching is I have a chance to impact them,
Mm.
hopefully in
So,
positive ways. And this coach, he impacted me in a negative way.
mm-hmm.
Now, once again, he actually returned my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
But my senior year, I was mature enough
Mm-hmm.
to accept his coaching and
Oh,
accept his coaching
interesting.
style
Uh-huh.
there. So for my sophomore and junior year, I had a different coach, and then he came back and started coaching again.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was ready.
Mm.
I had grown up essentially
Right.
there. I had adapted, and I realized I think at that point that I could still do hard things,
Mm.
and I'm not gonna let you intimidate me.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this. I'm good at this. I don't want to sound egotistical, but I can do this, and you're not gonna intimidate me.
How did
Uh,
you get this ability? Because you talked earlier about how you believed in your talents and your abilities. I think a lot of times, for some people, that I feel like it's a talent that you work on to be able to believe in your abilities. So, how did you do that for yourself? Because some of us we can even be good at a certain talent, but not believe in ourselves, right? So, how did you get to the point where you really believed in yourself?
Um, I just maybe I don't know. It was just within me. I think I just had the personality that I can succeed
Mm-hmm.
at whatever I want to succeed at. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
let's take that. Well, maybe physics was a little hard, so I have to work. I have to
Okay,
work.
maybe.
Okay, no. It's just okay. Well, also, what I wanted to do, Katie Ann, I
Uh-huh.
wanted to be the nerd, and I wanted
Uh-huh.
to be the fastest nerd.
Uh-huh.
That's what it was. I think when you talk about what motivated me when I was younger,
Yeah.
I want to be known as this person who was smart, but
Uh-huh.
who could also beat you on the in track in sprint
Yeah.
there. And people were amazed. I mean, people when the school I went to, they did not want to be beaten by a Thomas Jefferson athlete
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
so I found a lot of satisfaction in beating students from other schools because we
Uh-huh.
were the nerd school. It wasn't supposed to happen there.
Oh, I kind of like that. You're like breaking out of the norm. You're saying, okay, this is
Mhm.
what we're known for. I'm going to be really good at that. But I'm also going to be good at this thing that you're not going to expect. And I'm going to be even better than you think I am.
Yeah, yeah. And I think those things when we talk about things that have helped me along the way, um, it's track and field.
Mhm.
I mean, it has a granted. I'm not involved with the track anymore. You won't catch me running unless I'm chasing a soccer ball these days or a basketball.
Or maybe to and
But
from classes. Yeah.
yeah, but it's the lessons that I learned. It's the lessons I learned. It's the lesson I learned from freshman year being intimidated
Hmm.
and quitting
Hmm.
there. And I actually told the coach, well, I told the coach, well, my parents want me to concentrate on school. And so that's when I was really didn't want to run.
Yeah, you're like,
um,
not, no, no,
yeah,
no.
but then realizing that, hey, if I have this talent, I need something I can work at, and
Hmm.
then working at it, and then having this coach come back again and realizing I'm going to conquer you. There,
Hmm.
I'm not going to let you define who I am. I'm not going to
Oh,
let you break me down. There, and,
yeah.
and 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 that's how it was. I remember even one practice my senior year, I got angry at him screaming at me, and I kicked a water bottle across the track there. I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
perfect, um, because I was angry, and then I channeled that energy into the next interval that we had to do
yeah,
there. Because I told him, I'm not gonna let you beat me. I'm not gonna let you break me down
yeah.
there. And so that's how I think I go through life right now. It's like I'm not gonna let you tell me what I cannot do there.
Uh-huh.
Granted, he was pushing me. I mean, I love the guy. Um, there, I think he made me a better person in the
Hmm.
end. But I don't let anybody define who I am and where I should be in life.
Mm.
There, don't tell me that I can't do this. Because if you tell me I can't do this, I'll show you that I can do it. There.
Hmm. I really
Um,
like how you tied into like maturity as well of having these goals and kind of pushing back. And part of that maturity was saying, okay, like if I have something I want to do, I'm not going to let someone else take me down. For the fact also realizing that there are going to be people that are either going to intimidate you or want to tear you down. Like that's just going to exist. But the maturity is bring it
mhm.
on.
Yeah, yeah, bring it on. I think that's how we have to face life these days. I think, sometimes we get down on millennials, or we're saying they don't work hard or what. I mean, maybe they're just
Mhm.
working a different way there.
Hmm.
But I just realized anything that I have to do in life, I just have to work hard.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel that I have to work even harder at times.
Mhm.
Um, there, uh, than some others at some things, given some
Mhm.
circumstances.
Right.
Um, but I know my capabilities. I know what I'm capable of there.
Mhm.
And I have to be in control. I'm the captain of my own ship. I control my destiny
Mhm.
there. And so I think that's where a lot of my confidence comes in. Realizing that if I want to do something, I can do it. Right now, if I want to go back and and take on mechanical engineering, I bet I
You could.
can. I
You
can.
totally could.
I mean, I'm gonna have to work at it really hard, but I can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think that this it's not, with my kids right now, I have 4 young children under the age 7 and under,
Mhm.
and we don't tell them they're smart. We tell them you work hard. If they
Mhm.
do something and it looks awesome, or whatever, and they're doing their homework, it's like, oh, you work so hard at it there, because a lot
Oh,
of a lot of it is just about working hard.
yeah.
We can achieve so much just by putting more effort into something there.
You know,
Um,
that's really interesting of complimenting someone on their hard work rather than just saying rather than ability because it's hard work that'll really get you where somewhere in life rather than just natural ability. We all have ability to a certain point in our nature, but it's the hard work that's going to make you successful. And so that's really interesting of stopping and recognizing for people. And it can be they did a painting project, for example, and maybe it doesn't look like Picasso, but they worked hard, and we can
mhm,
we can say that like, hey, you worked hard, that's really
mhm.
awesome.
Yeah,
you know
and that's how it was with my career too. So I'm from Liberia, Monrovia, Liberia.
mm-hmm.
English is my native language,
Mm-hmm.
but English is something I had to work at, losing the accent. I mean, I probably still have an accent. There, a slight one. But I remember when I came to the United States, I actually failed the first grade. I failed the first grade and had to take English as a second language again, or take
Whoa.
English as a second language. Though I spoke English, but it's
Yeah.
English with a different accent.
Right.
But once again, failing the first grade was the best thing that could happen to me, because now I was the oldest kid in class and I actually excelled after that. They need to fail more students these days.
That's an
um,
interesting concept though. Sometimes it's our failures that are the best thing that happens to us. So I'm looking back on your life and I can kind of pull that out as your failures that kind of made you actually into the person you are. For example, not having 20/20 vision changed the trajectory of your life, or being bored in your mechanical engineering class. Like these so-called quote unquote failures
mhm,
are actually is what propelled you into the person that you've become.
mhm. Yeah, that's a good summary. That's a good analysis there.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, with journalism and being on television, you have to have a neutral accent. You can't have a Southern accent there and talk like this if you live in Spokane, or
Right.
or Utah with mountain, and you have to have a neutral accent. And so that's something I really had to work at there.
Yeah.
Liberian is spoken, the English is spoken very fast.
Uh-huh.
And so I learned that I have to talk slower. Because if I talk slower, then I can control my accent. But it was hard at first. It's, and then I also realized, and I didn't learn this until the last year, that I had trouble forming some words. That's not good for somebody who's a television reporter. And I mean, being able, your accent, I had my accent I had to work on. Some words wouldn't form correctly. And I realized a year ago that my tongue is too big. So,
oh man, sometimes that happens.
Two people, my dentist was like, "Oh, you have bite marks on your tongue." He's like, "Oh, your mouth is pretty narrow." I'm like, "Oh, that explains why I can't form some words. My tongue is too big." Right. And then somebody else told me that as well. Another physician said my tongue is, yeah. And so, I mean, just overcoming that obstacle. That's an obstacle most Americans don't have to overcome, because you come to this country, you know how to talk. I mean, so I had to learn how to talk like an American, essentially. There.
You've had this story of just overcoming consistently throughout your life, overcoming intimidation, overcoming the 2020 vision, overcoming talking. That is so confidence building. And I want to ask, as we're kind of wrapping up our conversation, what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self to have boosted your confidence?
Don't let people tell you what you cannot do. There. The Air Force told me that I couldn't fly because I didn't have 2020 vision. Well, the Air Force years later, they relaxed those standards, and now they're allowed corrected 2020 vision. Well, I could have been that person who could have forced the issue and could have sped up the process of them allowing people with corrected 2020 vision to fly. There. I remember my band teacher in the 7th grade telling me that I could not play the saxophone because I wanted to play the saxophone. And she looked at me and said, "You have the lips for a trumpet." And I was like, "No, I want to play the saxophone."
Yeah.
And so she wouldn't let me, and so I just dropped it. I need to go down fighting. I will tell my younger self, go down fighting. Fight for what you want. There. I mean, I have no regrets that I'm not a pilot right now. I mean, I enjoy. I love where I am right now. I enjoy. I love my life. I've had a great life. I've had a great career in television news, and now I'm doing what I ultimately wanted to do was to teach. Be in the classroom there. But I'll tell my younger self at first, just make sure you don't let people tell you what you cannot do. If they do try to tell you what you cannot do, fight. Fight for what you want there.
I love that idea of just fighting for what you want. I think you've given us an example of what that looks like in your life too. We're so grateful. Thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge, Dr. Richards. We just love to hear what you had to say.
Thank you, Katie Ann. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. I think a lot of times the feeling of fear comes from a lack of control in our lives. And our sponsor, PowerPay, is offering a Money Master course that's normally $40 for free to all Full Confidence Ahead podcast listeners, so you can take control of your finances this year. The course is video-based and gives you real-life money smarts. So to claim your course, go to extensioncourses.usu.edu/KatieAnnPowell, which is KatieAnnPowell, and it'll automatically add the Money Master course to your cart, and you just click checkout and you'll get it for free. You can also access your course by going to extensioncourses.usu.edu and finding the Money Master course under the finance category, then using the code KatieAnn, KatieAnn, with no spaces, to claim your $40 discount and free course at checkout. So let's master our money together. Thanks for listening in on the Full Confidence Ahead podcast. Weekly on Tuesdays, we'll continue our journey of confidence together through new interviews and insights. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on the latest conversations and confidence boosts. And by the way, you got this, because you deserve to live life full confidence ahead. See you next week.